All right, guys, we are back on our fourth map, Kulos Ravine. Now, Sean, we did see Artosis lose it was a longer game than it actually was, I want to say, because he was just getting harassed so much earlier on in that game, but he chose to stick it out and then finally chose to do that all-in push. Now, you were talking a little bit about the psychological effects of that game. Do you think we're going to see Artosis play a little bit differently this match simply because of how long and how drawn out that last match was?
Yeah, it's hard to come back and try to play a game when that's happened. I mean, the biggest thing that happens is you just start making little mistakes that you never would have in the first place because, you're steaming a little bit when you're in that spot. You tend to forget overlords. I mean, like, even just clicking in Artosis' main, I see him spamming a lot just with some of his rally points, which... he's generally a little bit calmer at the start of the game, when he's in a good spot. And on a map like Kulos Ravine, this map is technical. There are cliffs and rocks and weird counterattack paths and awkwardly placed expansions. You need to be focused to your max to be able to adequately play on it. So, I mean, this is probably the worst situation you want to be in, is to be down 2-1 after a really long game that was very frustrating, clearly, and then to have to play on a map where Cauthon Luck beat your friend Idra last week. I mean, it's just not where you want to be.
Yeah, I do want to apologize to listeners, actually, as Sean just did the Roboto voice for us, and I think that is actually my internet connection and not his. So we are just having horrible internet in Texas right now, as we are bringing you these matches not recorded live with our own producer, as his internet is currently out right now. So, hopefully Sean's robot voice is going to pick up here pretty soon. Actually, now going back into the match, we do see Artosis saving up a little bit of minerals. He might be going for this quick... Actually, scrap that. It looks like he's going to pull that drone out. He's actually a little bit late there on that spawning pool. He was about probably 80 or 90 minerals, a little bit late on that spawning pool. Going back into Cauthon Luck's base, pretty much standard opener that we've seen him do the past couple of games. He will be getting that orbital command pretty soon, as soon as that barrack finishes, I would suspect. And there it goes, actually researching. So we will be getting those mules. Going back into Artosis' base, he is saving up a little bit. Actually, he builds one. Okay, now he sends that drone out. So we will be seeing a fast expansion build from Artosis, as he still has not scouted the main base of Cauthon Luck, and we do see the scout for Cauthon Luck going in the wrong direction as well. So that Overlord is going to be seeing that Marine right there going across the map. I wonder if he's just sending that Marine out to scout a little bit and possibly get rid of the scouter drone that is coming. However, it might be a little bit delayed, as Artosis is moving it to that Zelnaga watchtower. Looks like the Marine is going to actually run into it, though, and it looks like he's going to easily take it out. It's a little bit of a unit malfunction right there. I'm not really sure what that was. It was just dancing right in front of the Marine. Really unsure what happened right there. But it looks like pretty standard openers for both of these players.
I've been eyeing Artosis' play like constantly in this game, and like you said, that spawning pool, he sent the drone there, and it was at like 240 minerals, and it wasn't building, and then it finally went down. And now his expansion actually went down at 17 instead of 16, and I know that Artosis and Idra are the sort of players who love making sure that they are building right on those numbers. So, I mean, that's quite shocking to me to see him, get a little bit thrown off. Actually, at this stage in the game, that's a lot thrown off. And the Queen was a little late, and, the Overlord almost didn't pop up in time. And, at the Zelnaga watchtowers that Cauthon Luck was spying on, 4 lings go up there for Artosis, and he ends up killing those 2 Marines. So that might be a nice breath of life for Artosis to hop back in this game. Expo's done. Looks like that SCV is just scouting in that base, and Roach Warren is about to finish, and it's done.
All right, going back over to Cauthon's base, we do see those 2 Zerglings hitting that supply depot a little bit, but that SCV's on the other side laughing as he's simply going to repair it. We do see him actually start building a Helion instead of actually switching it with that barracks there, because it's a smart play. You don't want those 2 Zerglings getting into your base and harassing your peon line when you can't actually catch up to them. So that Helion's going to be spawning here relatively soon. He is going to be able to take down the Zerglings, and Zerglings are getting that supply depot down relatively low, but that Helion does come out just in time. He is going to be able to take one down to about 9 HP. They are going to try to rush in right here. They're going to get in, but it looks like, he should be able to take them out relatively soon.
Well, it's nothing the Overlord didn't see, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. But, I mean, I'm actually watching Cauthon's base, and, I mean, it's Mistake City over here, man. I mean, like, that second mule went down when he was at 78 energy. I mean, that's so late. And right now he's at 50 energy as well, and he's, like, queuing up a bunch of SCVs. But still, I don't see a single, mule in sight, and there's a command center going down because Cauthon Lux macro got a little screwy. It looks like that one Hellion over at the expansion is not really doing too much. Artosis made a ton of roaches. I actually think far too many roaches. You can just get away with a relatively small number at this stage in the game. Artosis throwing down those creep tumors, joining up those two expansions, so he has great mobility in case those Hellions do end up popping in. I think that's the most significant thing that probably a lot of people would miss, is they think, the creep tumor's there for convenience. I really think the creep tumor is going down because of seeing the threat of Hellions. You need to have enough mobility with your roaches to bounce back and forth between bases and defend should the Hellions end up sneaking in.
It looks like the timing of Cauthon is a little bit off, like you said. We do see him now almost up to 43 mana, or energy rather. Mana, wow, what am I playing? We do see him up to 48 energy as the last mule didn't go down to about 80 energy. We do see him now back at 50. Let's see when he actually decides. There he goes. Actually, that was just on time. So he's back, kind of getting in the groove of things. We do see Artosis kind of, I guess, checking things out, doing a poke, as Sean likes to say, with those roaches there at the front of Cauthon Lux base. But he kind of saw that he couldn't really do that much. He probably saw the forces there with that Overlord right up above the choke there of Cauthon Lux. So he decides to kind of push back. He throws down another spine crawler. Now, 3 is kind of the general number of spine crawlers that we've seen Artosis throw down in the past 2 games. Do you think he's possibly putting down too much spine crawlers?
I think it's generally okay as long as you're intending fully on making a lot of drones. I just think it's eating into the economy a bit much early, and even when we really haven't seen that many Hellions. I also, that poke that Artosis did earlier, I really dislike that poke, because if you get in there and your opponent has, 7, 8 Marauders, he's going to just burrow the supply depot, sprint out, and go, oh, cool, some free roaches, and just, take it out immediately. I made that mistake a ton whenever I was randoming Protoss and ladder games. I would do the Brood War style Dragoon rush to Terran, but then he would have a Marauder, and you would just shoot it, and with that slowing, there was virtually nothing I could do. Now, it does look like Cauthon Lux is taking his expansion, building those 2 bunkers, because, again, that's basically like not building anything. You can eventually salvage them, no problem whatsoever, so I definitely stand by that decision. But taking this expansion is always a little bit iffy, just because of how huge these chokes are, and it ends up feeling a little bit dangerous. But, honestly, considering that looks like Cauthon Lux is constantly gearing up for a big push, if you're expanding towards your opponent, then that expo is going to be really safe. If you expand to this backdoor entrance, a lot of times you create a vulnerability for yourself in positions like these, where your opponent can just kill off those destructible rocks, and then just constantly dance back and forth between the front and back of your base, and you endlessly have no options.
Now, we do see Cauthon Lux getting down with 4 racks right now. Looks like he's going to be happy with that number for a little bit. He's actually pushing out a little bit with these Hellions there at the, I guess you would call that a scouter roach there at the Xel'Naga Watchtower. He is going to be able to push up with those roaches, though. If those Hellions were able to get a little bit farther south, he would kind of feast upon those things. But he did move up those spine crawlers now to the little bit north of his natural expansion. Hopefully going to be seeing another expansion here soon at the hill. I don't even know what you call that expansion. The hill expansion?
Yeah.
The hill expansion. All right, hill expansion of Artosis. He's going to be throwing down another hatchery there. We do see another roach going back up to the Xel'Naga Watchtower, going back over to Cauthon Lux base. He's just amassing a huge force of Marauders. Now throwing down kind of a little wall off there with 2 bunkers and now a supply depot. Looks like he's going to keep building those Marauders. We still don't see a stim pack research, though. Usually see players get that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I guess last game we saw him get it quite late as well. So it looks like both players are just kind of turtling right now. They're not really sure what they want to do. Artosis is a little bit iffy if he wants to attack, and I think Cauthon Lux kind of thinks that he's in the lead right now after taking 2 matches from Artosis. So he's just kind of sitting there turtling as well.
Yeah, and really, if you look at Cauthon Lux front, that's a ton of Marauders. If you just look at the unit counting station, that's 25 Marauders. He almost has as many Marauders as Artosis has roaches. But without stim, that's real bad. You need stim. That's the button you press to just demolish roaches. And without that help, it's going to be a little bit tough. Artosis doing the same sort of transitioning he likes to do. Get those 2 Evo chambers up. Nothing researching out of them quite yet. Hydra chamber going down as well. Looks like Cauthon Lux is still spending most of his energy on mules. He did recently scan in the main of Artosis. He sees that there are 2 Evo chambers down. He sees that there's that Hydral's den up. And it also looks like there's this nice little spotter factory over here at the left. I'm constantly clicking on all these tech labs to see if there's any sort of stim coming up, but alas, no. And oh, look, a big confrontation coming up. No stim there, but still those Marauders are really strong as is, and they just make short work of that Spine Crawler, and looks like they are making short work of these Roaches as well. Look at that beautiful kiting that Cauthon Luck's doing, just shooting and running. It looks like Artosis is trying to do a little bit of offensive sunkening or offensive spine crawlering or what have you. But, I mean, with that many Marauders, look, having to cancel all of them, going to have to back off, and still only Roaches. And out of all these hatches, Artosis is still only making Roaches, and finally we see some Hydras getting started in the production queue. No stim being started yet, and 3 more barracks going down in Cauthon Luck's main. Oh, and it looks like some Reapers being made as well. And oh, big push up here. He's target firing this hash, but now he's backing up. He sees these Roaches rushing in. He's trying to get into a good concave, but with that speed upgrade, those Roaches can get in such a beautiful position, but still backing up to abuse the fact that those Roaches only have 3 range. 100 food for Artosis, 132 food for Cauthon Luck. Queen now trying to get in the mix. Target fires and takes out the hatch. Oh, that's real bad news for Artosis. And now Cauthon Luck's trying to back up, but he's not shooting. Ooh, definitely needs to be taking some shots there. He's just throwing away free Marauders, especially with all this creep. Oh no, what is he doing? Why is he not firing? Why is he not taking one shot? He has lost so many Marauders in this retreat. Medevacs have not yet popped out, and now finally waiting for the SCVs. That was weird that he waited that long. I mean, now he's repelling it, and Artosis is not in the best spot, having to rebuild that expansion, but that was like 10 free Marauders.
We still do not see a stim pack research yet from Cauthon Luck, which I think is a huge, huge blunder. He is going to be spawning some Marines, I guess, to take care of some of those Hydralisk from Artosis. We see Artosis being a little bit more aggressive right now, as he has got a little bit more of a Hydralisk in his force, and this creep is just all the way across the map. I love this offensive creep tumor play that we see Artosis doing it all the way up to the natural expansion of Cauthon, so that SCV is just kind of sitting in it. I guess he's stuck in the creep. He can't even get out of that right now.
A little swampy.
Yeah, a little swampy, as you were saying. We do see that hatchery that Cauthon Luck killed, actually now almost about ready to spawn, and going back, we just see this huge drone train going from the natural expansion all the way back to the main of Artosis, and we just see kind of both players now back to this turtling mode. We do see those Marauders actually taking all those pod shots earlier from Artosis' force now being healed up by the medevac, which is going to put them at a little bit of a low energy. And I think if Artosis were to attack right now, looking at the unit counts, he might actually be able to put up quite a fight, but I think he's just going to continue turtling, as he has been a lot of this game.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's so nice about these Zerg, turtle style, if you will, is that once you get maxed, you can still keep adding on more and more and more and more larvae. So as a result, you end up being maxed with a ton of money and like 80 larvae ready to spend, and you just happily rally it to the front line, and when your whole army dies, you literally have another remaxed army almost immediately. We do see Stim and Combat Shield very nearly done. So that way he can deal with those Hydralisks just a little bit better. And, a few little mistakes by Artosis. Look over here on that hill expansion, that backdoor expo for Artosis has 2 queens there. And he's making a 4th queen at his natural expansion. Looks like he just realized that he had 2 queens hanging out over there. And he's trying to remedy that right away. But, Artosis is still playing quite well. I mean, made a little bit of mistakes at the start, but he still has those upgrades. He has that nice composition. He's getting a lot of Hydralisks now, is using the Roaches as sort of the meat shield unit. And I think he's going to be in relatively good shape against this big next push for Cauthon Luck. I mean, really, Cauthon Luck is putting all the eggs in one basket here. He needs to win with this. He is mined out in his main. This is it for Cauthon Luck. I wouldn't even dislike bringing a bunch of SCVs.
One thing I actually like from Cauthon Luck is he did send this Marine out for a little safari as he went all the way over to the left to make sure that Artosis didn't have any extra hidden expansions, which I think Cauthon Luck maybe thinks he's a little bit ahead right now, so he's going to push right here. He's going to run to a huge force of Artosis, so he needs a stim. There's the stim. Little great push up by the Roaches there on the front, but it looks like Cauthon is actually, I'm not really sure. It looks like he has a great concave, however, right now. Those Hydras aren't going to be able to push. They're stuck in between those 2 walls, and it looks like Cauthon Luck is actually winning this fight. They're going to be able to pick off a little bit more Hydralisk here. If he stims, there's the stim. Look at those Marauders just doing work on those Hydralisk. He's going to be able to pull back. We see a Spire now at the very, very front of Artosis' base. I'm not really sure
It's an offensive Spire play. I mean,
I was wondering why Cauthon didn't kind of go in and poke at that, but we do see Cauthon now sending that SCV, still holding that Vespian gas, just kind of taunting Artosis right now, I guess, with that SCV.
He's getting ready to throw a barrel.
We do see a huge fight now from Artosis, sending those Hydralisks up. Looks like another great concave, though, is Cauthon Luck is pretty much winning this fight. That Queen is actually getting in the fight. We do see it fall. Maybe a little bit more of aggression from Cauthon right now as he's thinking that he's winning this fight, and he actually is. We do see only a little bit of a remaining force from Artosis and just a ton of Marauders right now, just completely demolishing anything Artosis throws at him.
Yeah, and I mean, back in the main of Cauthon Luck just has units pouring out. It doesn't even matter, though. He's taken out the front. There's virtually no units in Artosis' main. I mean, I'm going to the unit counting station. 4 Roaches and 2 Hydralisks against 22 Marauders, 11 Marines, and 7 Medevacs. I mean, Artosis, there's almost no way that he can pull back out of this one. I mean, all those little mistakes that he was making early on are just adding up. And even with Cauthon Luck's big mistake with that Marauder retreat, where he didn't just turn around and shoot a couple times, I mean, he is still way, way in the lead.
All right, now we just see Cauthon just kind of pushing into his base. Looks like Artosis is trying to amass somewhat of a force. He is going to send those Roaches now that he had on the ramp of his hill expansion, but they're just going to get demolished by all those Marauders. And we do see a GG from Artosis there as he does leave the game, putting Cauthon up 3-1 over Artosis. And, I mean, that was just kind of a weird game. Both players doing some small things, not getting stim for Cauthon Luck. It looks like Artosis was a little bit, I guess, nervous in that game as well. But
yeah, definitely.
But Cauthon was able to pull out that match. Now, remember, this is a best of 7 this week, so not a best of 5. We are not done yet. We do have one more map that we actually haven't seen in the Showcase series. But going back to the map that was actually just played on Kulos Ravine, what do you think Artosis' biggest mistake was of that match?
I mean, as many as I could, little things that I could identify, the big overarching problem is that Artosis generally does let his nerves get to him. I mean, he's the sort of player that in a lot of practice games, he just plays phenomenally. I mean, he has great control. Every supply depot goes down just at the perfect time. A lot of times when he goes into like major tournaments or is in these show matches like this, I mean, not only is he trying to win a show match for himself, he's trying to defend the fact that Idra lost last week. So he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, and that clearly shows in this match. I mean, a lot of attacks when he should have backed up slightly just to get a better concave. He was attacking into really bad angles. That initial spawning pool that was built slightly late, his expansion that was built slightly late, making an additional queen when he didn't need to, all that sort of stuff adds up over time that, allows Cauthon Luck to have a big push that, even though it ended up winning at the end, it's pretty close. That huge push that he did. A Zerg who was playing just a little bit better would have been able to comfortably hold that off and been in an amazingly good position. But, Artosis' nerves just really ate him alive in that last match.
All right, so we'll be back on our 5th map. I think it's 5th. This is a little bit weird doing the best of 7. So I've never said that before. So as I pondered that a little bit longer, we will be right back.